My name is Eleanor, and I'm 61 years old. Last night, my own son beat me until I bled. All because the soup I made didn't have enough salt. While I lay on the kitchen floor wiping my blood with an old rag, he walked to his room, closed the door, and slept like nothing happened. As if hitting his own mother was normal. This morning, I woke up with my whole body aching, bruises on my arms, and a painful cut on my lip. But the worst part isn't the physical pain. It's the humiliation. It's knowing my own son, the child I loved and raised with everything I had, now treats me like his maid. It's knowing he thinks my only purpose is to serve him and stay quiet. I woke up at 5 a.m. as usual. Marcus was already in the kitchen, wearing his neat gray suit, scrolling through his phone. He didn't even look at me. He just said, "Breakfast. Hurry. I have an important meeting." Like nothing happened last night. Like he hadn't yelled at me, called me worthless and useless, or said that if I wasn't his mother he would have thrown me into the street. I made his breakfast exactly how he likes it. Scrambled eggs with 3 spoons of cheese, 2 slices of toast, and black coffee with no sugar. Everything had to be perfect because even one tiny mistake makes him explode. And when Marcus explodes, I'm the one who suffers. While he was eating, I heard the front door unlock. It was Vanessa, his wife. A young, classy woman who always smiles at me like she's being forced. She came in wearing a soft green dress and high heels, kissed Marcus on the cheek, and sat at the table like she owned the house. "Good morning, Mrs. Hart," she said in that sweet voice she only uses when Marcus is watching. "How are you this morning?" I wanted to tell her the truth, that her husband beat me last night, that my back was full of bruises, that I was breaking inside. But instead I smiled and said, "I'm fine, thank you." "Will you have breakfast, Vanessa?" I asked. Marcus shot me a look that warned me to be careful. His eyes said, "Say the wrong thing and tonight will be worse." Then he added with a fake smile, "Mom, I bought you some new makeup. It's perfect for covering those little scrapes you got when you tripped last night." Little scrapes. That's what he called the bruises he gave me, as if I fell face first into his fist by myself. I took the makeup quietly. It was a very expensive foundation, probably bought with my retirement money. He controls my entire bank account. Says it's for my own good because a woman my age can't handle money. The truth is, I haven't touched a single penny of my pension for 2 years. Vanessa looked at him with admiration. "You're so thoughtful, honey. Always caring for your mom." If only she knew. If only she knew that the perfect husband she brags about, the man who handles million-dollar accounts at work, comes home every night and takes his anger out on me. After breakfast, Marcus put on his red tie, picked up his briefcase, and whispered in my ear while Vanessa fixed her makeup. "Remember what we talked about last night? If you tell anyone what happens here, you'll regret it. No one will believe you. You're just a crazy old woman living off her son." His words froze my whole body. They left together, holding hands like the perfect couple they pretend to be. I watched them get into Marcus's new $400,000 black sedan, paid for with my money. When the house finally got quiet, I sat in the kitchen and cried. Not from sadness, but from anger. From helplessness. I know I need to do something, but I don't know what. I know I can't continue like this, but I don't know how to escape. I sat there for hours watching the sunlight slide across the tiles. This house used to be my safe place. I bought it 30 years ago with money I earned working as an executive secretary at Harrington and Associates. I spent 40 years of my life dedicated to that job. I never imagined I'd end up a prisoner in my own home. It started 3 years ago when Marcus divorced his first wife. He came to my door with a suitcase and that lost boy expression that always melted me. "Mom, I need to stay here for a while just until I fix my finances." He told me the divorce left him broke and homeless. And like the foolish mother I've always been, I opened my door and my heart. "Of course, son. This is your home too." I didn't know I was inviting the devil into my house. At first, everything seemed normal. Marcus went to work early, came home late, and we ate dinner together. He even helped me shop. I thought we were finally building the mother-son relationship I always dreamed of. But little by little, he changed. It started with small comments. "Mom, this food is too salty." Mom, you didn't clean the bathroom well. Mom, your clothes look wrinkled. It's embarrassing. I told myself he was just stressed. Then he got into my finances. Mom, you shouldn't be carrying cash at your age. Let me manage your accounts. And like a fool, I let him. Within 6 months, he had taken control of all my money. My $1,200 monthly pension went straight to his account. He gave me $20 a week like I was a child. When I asked about the rest, he said, Mom, I'm investing your money. Trust me. Then Vanessa arrived, 25 years younger, beautiful, ambitious. Marcus met her at work. 6 months later, he married her in a wedding that cost over $100,000. All from my money. Since she came into our lives, Marcus treats me like the housemaid. Mom, make something elegant for dinner. Mom, clean the guest bathroom. Mom, wash my shirt by hand. It's expensive. And I always obeyed because I was scared. Because he threatened to kick me out of my own home. Even though legally it's mine, he convinced me to add his name to the house deed, just in case something happens. The violence started a year ago. First small pushes, then pinches, then slaps, then punches. But last night, he crossed a line I never imagined he would cross. I made vegetable soup like we do every Tuesday. Marcus came home, tasted it, and exploded. What the hell is this? It has no salt. Before I could say a word, he threw the hot soup in my face. The heat burned my cheek, and pieces of the bowl cut my lip. You're useless, he screamed. 40 years as a secretary and you can't cook soup? Pathetic. He shoved me into the wall. I hit my head. He slapped me again and again. Then he warned me. Vanessa's friends are coming tomorrow. If you embarrass me, I'll kick you out. Then he suddenly calmed down, helped me up, wiped my blood, and said, I'm sorry, Mom. It's for your own good. I just know you can do better. And he went to sleep peacefully. I stayed up cleaning the floor. Every broken piece of porcelain felt like a piece of my dignity. As I wiped the mess, I thought about how things got this bad. Marcus wasn't always a monster. When he was little, he was kind. After his father left, it was just the two of us. I worked double shifts to give him everything: schooling, clothes, piano lessons, anything he asked for. Maybe that's where I failed him. I gave him everything too easily. Maybe I never taught him respect. Now 35 years later, I'm paying for my choices. At dawn, I heard him coming downstairs. My heart raced, like it always does when he's near. He walked into the kitchen, dressed in his black suit, and sat down without asking for anything. I made his breakfast silently. He ate without even seeing me. At 7:30, Vanessa arrived in a tight yellow dress and heels that echoed loudly. She looked perfect as always. I wondered if she ever noticed the bruises on me, the way I flinched around Marcus. Good morning, Mrs. Hart, she said with her fake smile. How are you feeling today? I am fine, I lied. Would you like breakfast? Just coffee, a light one with sweetener. As I served her, she looked at my lip and the bruise on my neck. For a second, I thought she'd say something, but she looked away. Marcus finished eating and reminded me. Don't forget Vanessa's friends are coming. Make something special: seafood, pasta, salad, dessert, and buy good white wine. He gave me 3 $20 bills. Only $60 to feed 5 people. Then he whispered, wear the makeup I bought. Hide everything. If anyone notices, you'll regret it. I nodded, my hands shaking. He kissed my forehead and left with Vanessa. When the door closed, I collapsed on a chair. How was I supposed to prepare all that with only $60? But the money wasn't the worst part. It was the pressure, the fear, the act I had to put on. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. My lip was swollen and purple. My eyes were red from crying. A bruise darkened my neck. I opened the fancy makeup Marcus bought and covered every mark, covering the truth. I thought about all the times I had done the same thing. Hiding bruises, lying about accidents, protecting my son's image. I went shopping, stretching the $60 as far as possible. Buying frozen shrimp instead of fresh, cheap wine, discounted pasta. Every coin mattered. In the checkout line, I saw Martha, my neighbor, a kind widow in her 60s. Hi, Eleanor, she said warmly. I haven't seen you lately. Are you okay? I am fine. I lied. Just busy. She noticed my lip. Did you hurt yourself? No, I lied again. I bumped into the closet. All right, she said gently. If you ever need anything, I'm here. Her kindness almost broke me. For a moment, I wanted to tell her the truth, but Marcus's threat echoed in my head. If you ever open your mouth, no one will believe you. Thank you, Martha, I said softly. I rushed home and cooked nonstop. Cleaned the entire house, set the table nicely, arranged flowers. Everything had to be perfect. At 11:30, my phone rang. A man spoke. Mrs. Hart? I'm the accountant from Marcus's company. We need to talk to you about some discrepancies in the accounts. Can you come at 3 p.m.? It's urgent. My heart dropped. What had Marcus done? But I didn't have time to think. The doorbell rang at noon. Vanessa and her friends stood there looking like models. Expensive dresses, designer purses, shoes worth more than my pension. Hello, Mrs. Hart, Vanessa said sweetly. Let me introduce my friends. Heather from HR, Caroline from marketing, and Linda from legal. When I heard Linda's name, my heart almost stopped. I looked at her carefully, and yes, it was really her. Linda Monroe, my younger sister, the one I hadn't seen in over 2 years. Linda looked at me with the same shock, but we both acted normal. She has always been smarter than me, more clever. She quickly understood that something was wrong, especially when she saw my heavy makeup and how nervous I was. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Hart, she said formally, as if she didn't know me. Your daughter-in-law has told us so much about you. I invited them into the dining room, where I had laid my best tablecloth, the china I inherited from my mother, and the crystal glasses I only use on special occasions. Everything looked elegant, just like Marcus demanded. I served lunch, trying to keep my hands from shaking. The shrimp pasta turned out well despite the small budget. The Caesar salad looked fresh. The bread was warm. I even managed to make a simple tiramisu for dessert. The women ate and chatted about work, their lives, and weekend plans. I kept going back and forth from the kitchen, serving more wine and clearing plates, acting like the perfect hostess I was supposed to be. But Linda's eyes never stopped watching me. I knew that look. It was the same look she had when we were kids, and she knew I was hiding something. During the whole meal, she kept studying me quietly. The food is delicious, Heather said. Did you cook all of this yourself, Mrs. Hart? Yes, I love to cook, I answered with a forced smile. It's a pleasure, especially for such lovely guests like you. How lucky Marcus is to have such a dedicated mother-in-law, Caroline added. It's rare these days to find women who are so devoted to the home. Vanessa smiled proudly. It's true. Mrs. Hart always takes care of everything. It's like having a housekeeper, but better, because she does it with love. Her words hit me like knives, but I kept smiling. A housekeeper. That's what she thought I was. Not a mother. Not a woman with rights and dignity. Just a free servant. Linda cleared her throat. And what did you do before, Mrs. Hart? Were you always a homemaker? I paused and, for the first time in a long while, I felt a little pride. I worked for 40 years as an executive secretary at the law firm Harrington and Associates. I retired 3 years ago. Linda's eyes lit up. She knew that firm well. It was one of the most respected in the city, and she had interned there during her law studies. How interesting, she said. I know that firm. They have an excellent reputation. You must have met a lot of important people over the years. I did, I replied with a more genuine smile. I met judges, prosecutors, and important lawyers. I even helped with some big cases. Mr. Harrington always said I was indispensable. Vanessa looked uncomfortable with where the conversation was going. She didn't like me being the center of attention or anyone mentioning my professional achievements. She quickly changed the topic. Well, now Mrs. Hart is retired and enjoying her well-deserved rest, she said with that fake smile. Marcus takes care of everything, her finances, her needs. He's such a responsible son. Linda looked at me very closely when she said that. She knows me. She knows how wrong that sounded. A woman who worked 40 years at a big law firm doesn't suddenly need her son to manage her money. Lunch went on with small talk, but I could feel the tension building. Linda kept watching me, and I knew she had realized something was off. When I went to the kitchen to get dessert, she followed me. "Do you need any help?" she asked. But I knew she really wanted a moment alone with me. "No thanks. Everything is under control," I replied, avoiding her eyes. "Eleanor," she said quietly, using my real name for the first time that day. "Are you okay? You seem different." For a moment, all my walls almost fell down. I wanted to hug her, tell her everything, beg her to help me. But just then, I heard Marcus's keys in the front door. He had come home earlier than usual. "Everything's fine, Linda," I said quickly. "I'm just a little tired." Marcus walked into the dining room with that perfect smile he uses when guests are around. He greeted the women, kissed Vanessa on the cheek, and gave me a look of approval. The lunch had gone exactly how he wanted. "How are the most beautiful ladies from the office doing?" he said with that fake charm. "I hope my mother took good care of you." "Excellently," said Heather. "Your mother is charming." Marcus put his hand on my shoulder, and I tensed up without thinking. He felt it and squeezed a little harder, a silent warning. "She's the best mother in the world," he said, while his fingers dug into my shoulder through my blouse. "Always taking care of everyone, always sacrificing herself for the family." After dessert, the women began to leave. Linda was the last one. Before stepping outside, she took my hand. "It was a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Hart," she said loudly so Marcus would hear. Then she leaned in and whispered in my ear, "We'll see each other soon." When everyone was gone, Marcus shut the door and his expression changed completely. The mask of the perfect son fell off. The monster was back. "You did well," he said coldly. "For once you didn't embarrass me." It wasn't a compliment. It was just confirmation that I had done my job as his servant. While I picked up the dishes and cleaned the dining room, he went to his room to change clothes. Before leaving, he turned to me and said, "By the way, the technician is coming tomorrow to check your computer. He says you've been visiting some strange websites." My blood ran cold. I didn't even have my own computer. I only used his when I needed to. And the only strange sites I had visited recently were pages about domestic abuse, shelters for battered women, and hotlines. He knew I had been searching for help. He knew I was thinking of escaping. Right then, my phone rang. It was the accountant from Marcus's company again. "Mrs. Hart, can you come in at 3 this afternoon? It's urgent." I looked at the clock. It was 2:15. Marcus was in his room, probably taking a nap. This was my chance. "Yes," I whispered. "I'll be there." I grabbed my keys, my purse, and quietly slipped out of the house. I didn't know what was waiting for me at that office, but I had a strong feeling my life was about to change. As I walked to the bus stop, I remembered Linda's words. "We'll see each other soon." My sister had noticed something, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a small spark of hope. The office building where Marcus worked was one of those tall glass and steel towers downtown that make people feel small just walking past. I had never been there before. All these years, my son had kept his work life completely separate from me, like it was something I didn't need to know about. I went up to the 18th floor, where the offices of Northern Business Corporation were. The receptionist, a young woman with a professional smile, directed me to the accountant's office. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might jump out of my chest. "Mrs. Hart." A man in his 50s with glasses and a formal suit greeted me. "I'm Daniel Castillo, the company's chief accountant. Thank you for coming so quickly." I sat across from his desk, trying to look calm even though I was shaking inside. His serious expression made me even more nervous. "Ma'am, I need to ask you some questions about your bank account," he began, opening a folder full of papers. "Specifically about some transactions we've seen over the last few months." "I don't understand," I said with a shaky voice. "What does my account have to do with the company?" Daniel looked at me with a mix of concern and pity. "Mrs. Hart, we've discovered that your son Marcus has been using company funds to make transfers to your personal bank account. Money that is then withdrawn from there." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. That can't be true. Marcus is an exemplary employee. He would never do something like that. I'm afraid he has, Daniel replied, showing me some documents. In the last 6 months, he has diverted more than $50,000 of company funds. The money goes into his personal account first, and then it's transferred to the account he shares with you. My world collapsed in that moment. $50,000. My son wasn't just abusing me physically. He was also using me as an unknowing accomplice to his theft. But I didn't know anything, I said desperately. He manages all my banking. I don't approve any transfers myself. We know, Daniel said gently. That's why I called you before taking legal action. We need you to file a formal complaint for misuse of your bank account. It's the only way to clear your name. I felt sick. Not only was I a victim of domestic violence, now I was also a victim of financial fraud. And worst of all, my son had turned me into his tool. What will happen to Marcus? I asked, even though I already knew. If you file the complaint, he'll be arrested for embezzlement of company funds and fraudulent use of bank accounts. These are serious charges. He could face 5 to 10 years in prison. I left the office in total shock. I wandered the downtown streets for hours, not knowing where to go, trying to process everything. My son was a thief, a criminal, and I had been helping him without knowing it. When I finally got home, it was 6 p.m. Marcus was in the living room watching TV like any other day. When he saw me, he gave me that usual look of superiority. Where have you been? He asked accusingly. I got home and you weren't here. The house was a mess after lunch. For the first time in years, I looked him straight in the eyes and didn't look away. I was at your office. His face changed immediately. His mask cracked. For a second, I saw fear in his eyes. What did you say? I was at your office, Marcus. I spoke with the accountant. I know what you've been doing. He stood up slowly, like a predator getting ready to attack. I don't know what you're talking about, Mom. You're confused. $50,000. I said, my voice getting stronger. $50,000 that you've stolen from your company using my bank account. Marcus walked toward me, but for the first time in a long time, I didn't back away. Something inside me had changed that afternoon. Maybe it was the knowledge that I wasn't alone anymore, that other people knew the truth. Listen to me, you stupid old woman, he said in a low, threatening voice. You have no idea what you're saying. That money is mine. You owe me for everything I've done for you. The food you eat, the roof over your head, the clothes you wear. With my own money, I shot back. With my pension, my savings, the money I earned working 40 years. He grabbed my arm, but this time I didn't stay quiet. Let go of me. I screamed with all the strength I had. He was so shocked by my reaction that he actually let go. For 3 years, I had been his silent victim. Now, for the first time, I was yelling at him. You're crazy, he said, but his voice wasn't as firm as before. No one will believe you. You're a senile old woman who doesn't even know what she's saying. The accountant believed me, I replied. The documents show everything. The transfers are recorded. Everything is documented. Marcus was quiet for a few seconds, thinking. Then his face hardened even more. If you open your mouth, if you file any complaint, I swear I'll destroy you, he threatened. This house is also in my name. I can throw you onto the street tomorrow. And without me, without my money, you'll die alone like a dog. But this time, his threats didn't break me. Something was different. There was a strength in me I didn't know I had. I'm not afraid of you anymore, Marcus, I said. And as I spoke, I realized it was true. For the first time in 3 years, I'm not afraid of you. He raised his hand to hit me, but just then the doorbell rang. It was Martha, my neighbor. Eleanor. She called from outside. Eleanor, is everything okay? I heard shouting. Marcus slowly lowered his hand. He couldn't hit me with a witness so close. His reputation was too important. Go see what she wants, he growled. And you'd better not say anything strange. I went to open the door, my legs shaking. Martha stood there with a worried look and a casserole dish in her hands. Hi, dear, she said. I brought you some stew I made, but I heard loud voices and got worried. Behind her, I saw another woman. It was Linda, my sister. She was wearing casual clothes and had her hair tied back, but I recognized her immediately. "Hello," Linda said, pretending not to know me. "I'm new in the neighborhood and I was just visiting Mrs. Hart. I hope we're not disturbing you." Marcus appeared behind me, wearing his perfect fake smile. "No problem at all, ladies," he said. "My mother just got a bit upset because she burned dinner. You know how older women are about those things." Martha looked at him with a strange expression. "Right," she said slowly. "Well, Eleanor, here's the food. And remember, if you need anything, I'm right next door." Linda looked straight into my eyes. "Yes, Mrs. Hart. Anything you need, day or night." When they left, Marcus slammed the door. "Damn nosy old women," he muttered. "But this isn't over. Tomorrow we're going to the bank together, and you're going to sign every paper I tell you to. You're going to withdraw any complaint you've probably already filed, and you're going to say it was all a misunderstanding." "No," I said quietly. "What do you mean no? I'm not going to sign anything. I'm not going to take back any complaint. And I'm not going to be part of your thefts anymore." Marcus looked at me with a rage I had never seen before, like he had finally dropped all his masks. "Fine," he said calmly, which scared me even more than his shouting. "If that's how you want it, we'll play your way. But I'm warning you, when I'm done with you, you'll wish you were never born." I didn't sleep that night. Marcus was locked in his room, but I could hear him talking on the phone for hours. I didn't know what he was planning, but I knew I had to get ready for the worst. Around 3 a.m., I heard a strange noise in the yard. I looked out the window and saw a figure in the bushes. It was Martha. She seemed to be setting something up near my window. The next day I understood what she had done. She had installed a small security camera pointed at my house, hidden in the plants. My neighbor knew something bad was happening and had started recording everything. The day dawned gray and rainy, like the weather was reflecting the storm in my life. Marcus woke up earlier than usual, at 5 a.m. I heard him moving around, talking on the phone in a low voice, preparing something that made me uneasy. When I went down to the kitchen, he was already in his best black suit, the one he wore for important meetings. His hair was perfect, his tie straight. He looked like the successful executive everyone admired, not the monster I knew at home. "Good morning, Mom," he said in a strangely sweet, almost sing-song voice. "I hope you slept well." That forced sweetness gave me chills. I knew my son well enough to know that when he acted nice, it meant he was planning something terrible. "Yes," I lied, serving his coffee like always. "Good," he said, smiling in a way that didn't reach his eyes. "Because today is going to be a very special day. I've been thinking about our conversation yesterday all night." He sat down and started eating calmly, like everything was normal, but his behavior kept me on edge. "I've decided you're right," he said. "Maybe I've been too hard on you. After all, you're my mother and you deserve respect." His words confused me. Marcus admitting he was wrong, asking for forgiveness. It was so out of character that I knew it was part of his plan. "That's why," he went on, spreading butter on his toast, "we're going to the bank together today. We'll clear up this misunderstanding with the company. You're going to explain that you authorized all the transfers, that you knew exactly what was happening with your money." There it was. The real reason for his sudden kindness. "I'm not going to do that, Marcus," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. His smile slowly vanished. "Of course you are, Mom, because if you don't, some very unpleasant things will happen." "Are you threatening me?" "No, Mom," he said, finishing his coffee. "I'm just telling you how things are. Look around you. This house, this table, the bed you sleep in, the food you eat, none of it would be here without me. If I stop paying, if I stop helping." He left the sentence unfinished, but the message was clear. He was ready to throw me out on the street. "And besides," he added, taking out his phone, "I've been thinking about calling some doctors. I know specialists in mental health for older people. You know, it's very sad when mothers start inventing stories and accusing their sons of terrible things." I felt my blood turn to ice. He wasn't just threatening to kick me out. He was planning to have me declared mentally unstable, so no one would believe my side of the story. "There are several witnesses who can confirm your mental decline. He continued in that cold, calculated voice. Vanessa, for example. I told her yesterday how confused you've been. And the friends from lunch also noticed something strange. It was all a lie. But he was so convincing that, for a moment, I even doubted myself. That's how his manipulation worked. He made me question my own reality. So we're going to the bank at 10, he said, getting up. You're going to wear your best dress, fix yourself up, and smile while you sign every paper they put in front of you. Understood. I didn't answer. I just started clearing the breakfast dishes, trying to buy time. I'm talking to you, he shouted, dropping the sweet act. Understood. Understood. I mumbled, hating myself for sounding so weak. Marcus left for his office, but before going, he gave me one more warning. Don't even think about leaving this house. Don't think about calling anyone. I'll be back at 9:30 to pick you up for the bank. As soon as the door closed, I broke down in the kitchen chair and started crying. Not from sadness this time, but from pure rage. Rage at him, but more than anything, rage at myself for letting things get to this point. I stayed like that for a few minutes until I heard a soft knock at the back door. It was Martha, with an urgent expression. Eleanor, open up quickly, she whispered through the glass. It's important. I opened the door, and she slipped in, looking around to make sure we were alone. I heard everything, she said immediately. I have the camera set up by your kitchen window. I recorded your entire conversation with your son. My heart started racing. Everything, she repeated. The threats, the blackmail, the way he spoke to you. I have proof that he's forcing you to lie about the stolen money. For the first time in days, I felt a true spark of hope. What can we do with that? I asked. Martha smiled. I have a friend who works at the district attorney's office. Her name is Caroline, and she specializes in domestic abuse and financial fraud. But you need to come with me right now. I can't, I said, feeling fear wash over me again. Marcus told me not to leave the house. If he finds out. Eleanor, Martha interrupted, taking my hands. Listen to me carefully. If you go to that bank and sign those papers, your son will be cleared of everything. He'll keep stealing. He'll keep abusing you. And on top of that, the law will see you as his accomplice. She was right. If I signed, I wouldn't just lose my dignity. I'd also become a criminal in the eyes of the law. But if I don't go, I said in a trembling voice, he'll carry out his threats. He'll kick me out. He'll say I'm crazy. He won't be able to do any of that, Martha cut in. Because we're going to show the evidence before he acts. Caroline told me that with these recordings, they can arrest him immediately. I looked at the clock. It was 8:30. Marcus would be back in an hour. Are you sure your friend can help me? Absolutely, Martha said. But we have to go now, Eleanor. It's our only chance. I made a decision that would change my life forever. I went to my room, grabbed my purse with my most important documents, and left the house with Martha. As we walked to her car, I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Courage. For the first time, I was taking control of my life. The district attorney's office was a typical government building with long hallways and small offices. Caroline turned out to be a woman in her 40s, with sharp eyes and a calm, confident way of speaking. Mrs. Hart, she said after watching the recordings Martha brought. What your son is doing is a crime in many ways. Domestic abuse, financial fraud, blackmail, and attempted obstruction of justice. What does that mean? I asked. It means we can arrest him today, Caroline replied. But I need you to file a formal complaint on all these charges. Are you willing to do that? I checked the time. It was 9:15. In 15 minutes, Marcus would be at home, waiting to take me to the bank. When he realized I wasn't there, his anger would be explosive. Yes, I said, feeling my voice grow stronger. I'm ready to file the complaint. Caroline smiled. Perfect. While you fill out the forms, I'll coordinate with the police so they can go arrest your son. Do you know where he is right now? He should be arriving at my house, I said. He said he'd pick me up at 9:30. Even better, Caroline replied, picking up her phone. It's easier to arrest him at a known location. While I filled out the complaint, Caroline worked with the police. Martha stayed by my side the whole time, holding my hand, giving me strength. Are you sure about this, Eleanor? She asked me. Once we sign these papers, there's no going back, Caroline said. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, I replied. At 10:30, Caroline's phone rang. It was the police. They confirmed they had arrested Marcus at my house. They said they found him screaming like a madman, breaking things, and tearing the whole place apart while looking for me. He's in custody, Caroline told me. The charges are serious. It's very likely he won't get bail. I felt like a 1,000-pound weight had been lifted off my shoulders. For the first time in 3 years, I knew I was going to sleep without fear. When we went back to my house that afternoon, the place looked like a war zone. Marcus had destroyed almost everything before the police took him. The couch cushions were ripped open. There were broken dishes all over the kitchen floor. The family photos that used to hang on the walls were shattered and scattered everywhere. My God, Martha whispered, staring at the mess. How could he do all this in such a short time? I knew exactly how. I knew the blind rage Marcus fell into when things didn't go his way. I had seen that fury many times before. Only this time, it wasn't my body he had attacked. It was everything around him. Caroline, who had come with us to document the scene, started taking photos of everything. This will be more evidence of his violent behavior, she explained. Destruction of property during a rage episode. The judge will see very clearly what kind of person your son is. While we were sweeping up glass and picking up the pieces of what used to be my life, my phone started ringing non-stop. It was an unknown number. Don't pick it up, Caroline warned. It's probably him calling from jail. Let it go to voicemail. She was right. When I checked the messages later, it was Marcus's voice. But he sounded completely different. He wasn't the threatening monster from that morning. He sounded like a scared little boy, like he always did when he wanted to manipulate me. Mom, his voice cracked in the recording. Mom, please come get me out of here. It was all a misunderstanding. I never meant to hurt you. You know I love you. You're the most important person in my life. Please, Mom, don't let me rot in this place. I'm your son. Your only son. He had left 5 messages like that, each one more desperate than the last. In the final one, he was even sobbing. It's part of his manipulation pattern, Caroline explained. First comes the violence and threats. When that doesn't work, they switch to playing the victim and making you feel guilty. It's very typical behavior in abusers. Even though my mind understood exactly what was going on, hearing my son cry still broke my heart. For 35 years he had been my baby, my purpose in life. It was very hard to separate the man he had become, the abuser, from the little boy he once was. Are you okay? Martha asked when she saw my face. It's complicated, I admitted. I know I did the right thing. But he's still my son. That night, Martha insisted I stay at her house. Your house isn't safe right now, she said. Marcus has friends, and Vanessa might try something too. Someone could come looking for revenge. She was right. In one of the voicemails, Marcus had said that Vanessa was handling things from the outside. I didn't know what that meant, but I was afraid to find out. Martha's house was small but warm and cozy. There was a guest room with a narrow bed and a little desk. It was my daughter's room before she got married, she explained. Now it's yours for as long as you need it. For the first time in 3 years, I went to bed without being scared. I didn't have to listen for Marcus's footsteps in the hallway. I didn't have to brace for his screams in the middle of the night or wonder if I'd wake up to a slap or a punch. It felt strange. Peace can also be scary when you're not used to it. The next morning, Caroline called me early with news. Marcus's bail hearing is today at 2 p.m., she told me. The judge will decide if he can get out of jail while he waits for his trial. What are the chances he'll be released? I asked, feeling the fear crawl back. With all the evidence we have, very small, she said. But I need you there. You'll have to testify. The judge must hear from you directly to understand how dangerous he is. The hearing was in a small courtroom. Marcus sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit. When he saw me walk in, his whole face changed. He wasn't the crying, begging son from the voicemails anymore. He was pure contained anger. Vanessa sat in the public benches, dressed elegantly as always, but she looked worn out, like she hadn't slept for days. When our eyes met, I saw something in her I had never seen before. Shame. The judge was an older man in his 60s, with a serious but fair expression. He went through the documents before starting. "Mrs. Hart," he said when it was my turn to testify. "Please tell us, in your own words, what you've been living through in your home these last few years." I took a deep breath and started talking. I talked about the beatings, about how he controlled all my money, about the threats, the insults, the constant humiliation. My voice shook a few times, but I didn't stop. When I mentioned the $50,000 he stole, I saw Marcus tense in his chair. His lawyer, a young man in a fancy suit, kept trying to object, but the judge shut him down. "And what did your son tell you yesterday morning in relation to your testimony?" the judge asked. "He threatened to have me declared mentally incompetent if I didn't lie for him," I replied. "He said he would throw me out into the street and leave me with nothing." The judge then listened to the recordings Martha had made. He put on headphones and heard them from beginning to end while the whole courtroom sat in silence. "Mr. Marcus Hart," the judge said when he finished, "the evidence shows a clear pattern of domestic violence, financial fraud, and intimidation of a witness. Because of the seriousness of the charges and the risk you pose to the victim, your request for bail is denied. You will remain in custody until your trial date." Marcus exploded. "This is unfair," he shouted, standing up. "That crazy old woman is lying. I'm a respectable citizen. I have rights." The guards had to hold him back as he continued to yell. "You're going to regret this, Mom. When I get out of here, I'll make you pay for every day I spend in this place." His threats echoed all over the courtroom, proving exactly what I had just said about his violent character. After the hearing, Vanessa came up to me in the hallway. "Mrs. Hart," she said with a shaky voice, "I need to talk to you." Caroline and Martha stiffened, ready to protect me, but I signaled that it was okay. "What do you want, Vanessa?" I asked. "I want to apologize," she said. And for the first time since I'd known her, her voice sounded real, not fake. "I knew something was wrong in that house. I heard the screaming. I saw your bruises. I noticed how you flinched every time he raised his voice." "Then why didn't you say anything?" I asked. "Because I was scared," she admitted. "Marcus threatened me too. He told me that if I ever betrayed him, he'd destroy my career, my reputation. And I was a coward. I let you suffer alone because I didn't want to lose my comfortable life." Her eyes filled with tears. "When they arrested him yesterday, I found some documents in his office," she continued. "He wasn't just stealing from his company. He was stealing from my personal account too. We've been married for 2 years and I never realized I was married to a fraud." "What are you going to do now?" I asked. "I'm going to file for divorce immediately," she said with sudden firmness. "And I'm going to testify against him at the trial. I've already contacted a lawyer. I want to work with the district attorney's office to make sure he pays for everything he did to us." When we left the courthouse, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Real hope. Not only had I managed to escape my son's control, but now I had allies in my fight for justice. That afternoon, as we walked back to Martha's house, Caroline gave me more good news. "The company Marcus worked for wants to reach an agreement," she said. "They're willing not to press any additional charges against you if you help by returning the stolen money that passed through your account. Also, since you were used as a victim in this fraud, they will pay you $20,000 in compensation." $20,000. It was more money than I had been able to use freely in the last 3 years. "And what about my house?" I asked. "Marcus said his name was on the deed too." "We checked," Caroline replied, smiling. "Your son lied. The deed is still only in your name. He forged some papers, but legally, the house is 100% yours." For the first time in a long while, I started to see a future without fear, a future where I could make my own choices and be in charge of my life again. But I also knew Marcus wouldn't give up so easily. His threats in the courtroom were clear. This was just the beginning of the war. 3 weeks after Marcus's arrest, my life was completely different, but not in the way I had imagined. Even though I was physically safe living at Martha's house, mentally I was still trapped by him. I had developed a constant paranoia that kept me awake at night. Every sound made me jump. Every car that stopped outside made me rush to the window. Every unknown phone call sent my heart racing. Caroline said this was normal. It's post-traumatic stress, she explained. Your mind and body got used to living in constant danger. It's going to take time for that to change. But it wasn't just the trauma. Marcus had found ways to reach me from jail. He sent messages that froze my blood. The first message came through another lawyer, not his official one. It was a handwritten letter in his familiar handwriting. Dear Mom, it began. I hope you're enjoying your little victory. I hope you feel very brave for betraying me, but I want you to know something. This isn't over. I know things about you that no one else knows, he wrote. Secrets you kept for 40 years working at that law firm. Things that could destroy not just your reputation, but your freedom. My heart nearly stopped. What secrets? During my 40 years as a secretary at Harrington and Associates, I had handled confidential information, of course, but I had never thought I'd done anything illegal. Remember the case Williams versus the state, Mom? The letter continued. The one from 15 years ago? I found the documents you hid. The ones you changed to help Mr. Harrington win that multimillion-dollar case. Documents that, if they are revealed now, could put you in prison for obstruction of justice. My hands began shaking uncontrollably. I vaguely remembered the Williams case. It was a big case where the firm defended a pharmaceutical company accused of hiding deadly side effects of a drug. Mr. Harrington had told me to reorganize certain documents and remove memos that could hurt the client. I thought it was normal, part of my job. I never fully understood the legal implications. But Marcus was right. Technically, I had altered evidence in a legal case. I have copies of everything, Mom, he wrote. And if you don't drop the charges against me, if you don't publicly apologize and say you lied, those documents will go straight to the district attorney. Imagine the headline, he continued. 61-year-old secretary arrested for covering up drug deaths. The rest of the letter described in detail how he planned to ruin my life if I didn't obey him. He said he knew reporters who would pay for that story. He said my face would be on every front page, and my name would be forever tied to corruption. When Martha found me crying with the letter in my hands, she called Caroline immediately. This is clear blackmail, Caroline said after reading it. But we need to know whether any of it is real. Exactly what do you remember about the Williams case? I told her everything. I told her what Mr. Harrington had asked me to do, how I had removed and rearranged documents on his orders. Did you know it might be illegal? She asked. No, I said honestly. I was just following instructions. Mr. Harrington said it was standard procedure to protect the client's confidentiality. Caroline sighed. Legally, not knowing isn't a full excuse, she said. If you altered evidence, even without criminal intent, it's still technically a crime. My world crumbled again. Just when I thought I had finally escaped Marcus's control, he found a way to grab me by the throat again. What am I supposed to do? I asked in despair. If I drop the charges, he gets out and he'll kill me. If I don't, I could go to jail for something I did 15 years ago without even understanding it. First, calm down, Caroline said. Second, we'll investigate exactly what documents your son has and how he got them. Third, we'll look for ways to limit the damage if there really is evidence against you. The next few days were a nightmare of legal research. Caroline worked with a team of lawyers who specialized in old cases and dug through the Williams file. Meanwhile, I lived in constant panic, expecting the police to show up for me at any moment. Martha was my lifeline during those weeks. She didn't just give me a roof over my head. She became the sister I never had. Every night she sat with me while I cried, made me chamomile tea to help me sleep, and reminded me again and again that I wasn't alone. No matter what happens, she would say, we'll face it together. You're not that frightened woman anymore who lived under her son's terror. But I still felt like that woman. Marcus had managed to drag me right back into fear and despair. Even from jail, He still had power over me. A week later, a second letter arrived, even crueler than the first. "I see you still haven't learned, Mom," it said. "You still think you can stand against me. Fine. Now everyone will know who you really are." Inside was another envelope with photographs. They were pictures of documents, internal memos from Harrington and Associates, with my handwriting on them, notes in the margins, changed dates, missing pages. "These photos will be in the newspaper by tomorrow night," the letter said. "Unless you come visit me in jail before Friday. You will come alone with no lawyer, no witnesses. And you'll bring a signed statement asking to drop all the charges against me, saying it was all a misunderstanding caused by your mental deterioration." My mental deterioration. The phrase made my blood run cold again. "If you don't come," he wrote, "not only will these photos go to the press, but you'll also see the recordings." Recordings? What recordings? I thought. "Did you really think I didn't know you had cameras in the house, Mom? Did you think I'm stupid?" he wrote. "I have recordings too. Recordings of you taking cash from clients at the firm. Money you never reported. Tax evasion, Mom. Another 15 years in prison." This wasn't just blackmail anymore. It was full-blown psychological warfare. Marcus had been preparing for this moment for a long time, saving documents, planning every move, getting ready for the day I might turn against him. When Caroline read the second letter, her face grew even more serious. "Eleanor, I need you to tell me everything about your time at the firm. Every irregular thing, every cash payment, every gift," she said. I told her about the Christmas cash bonuses Mr. Harrington gave me every year. Money I never declared because I thought they were just personal gifts. I told her about the times clients gave me cash tips to thank me for extra help. Money I also never reported because I didn't know I had to. "In total," she asked, "how much do you think it was over 40 years? "Maybe. I don't know, maybe $10,000. I said, ashamed. Caroline did a quick calculation. "With interest and penalties, we're talking about something like $40,000 in unpaid taxes," she said. "And technically, yes, that is tax evasion." My son had built the perfect trap. If I continued with the charges, he would try to ruin me using my past mistakes. If I gave in, he would walk free and I'd be right back in his hands. "There is a third option," Caroline said after thinking for a long time. "An option neither of you expects." "What is it?" I asked. "We get ahead of him," she said. "You voluntarily confess everything before he can use it against you. We tell the truth ourselves. Then we use that to show the court how your son manipulates and controls his victims, even from jail." It was a risky plan. It meant publicly admitting I had done wrong, facing possible charges, and exposing myself to humiliation. But it also meant taking Marcus's biggest weapon away, my secrets. "If we do this," Caroline continued, "your son loses all his power. He can't blackmail you anymore because there will be nothing left to expose." I looked out the window at my house across the street, still empty and broken. That house represented my past, my mistakes, my fears. But it also represented my future, my freedom, my chance to start over. "Let's do it," I said at last. "I'm tired of living in fear. I'm tired of my son controlling my life from a jail cell." Caroline smiled. "Tomorrow," she said, "we'll give Marcus the surprise of his life." The day we decided to fight back came faster than I expected. Caroline arranged a press conference for 2 p.m., where I would publicly confess everything before Marcus could leak it. It was a bold strategy, but it was our only way to truly break his control. That morning, I woke up with a kind of mental clarity I hadn't felt in years. For the first time since all this started, I wasn't afraid. I had made a choice, and somehow that gave me peace. Martha helped me get ready. I put on my serious gray dress, the one I used to wear for important days at the office. I applied a little makeup, not to hide myself, but just to look awake. I wasn't trying to look perfect. I wanted to look honest. "Are you sure about this, Eleanor?" Martha asked for the 5th time. "Once you say these things in public, there's no going back." "I'm completely sure," I replied, surprised at how steady my voice sounded. I lived 3 years as a prisoner in my own house, because I was afraid of what might happen. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life as a prisoner of my past. Around noon, Caroline called with unexpected news. Eleanor, something big just happened, she said. Richard Campbell, Marcus's boss, wants to talk to you before the press conference. Richard was the one who first discovered Marcus's thefts. The same man who had gone pale when he learned the full story. I didn't understand why he wanted to see me. We met at Caroline's office. Richard, a man in his 50s with gray hair and a commanding presence, stood up when I walked in. Mrs. Hart, he said warmly but seriously. First, I want to say I'm sorry. If I had supervised Marcus better, if I had paid more attention to the warning signs, maybe we could have prevented some of what you went through. His words surprised me. You couldn't have known what was happening inside my house, I said. Maybe not, Richard answered. But I should have known what was happening with the company's finances. Your son didn't start stealing 6 months ago. He started 2 years ago. My heart stopped. 2 years. I whispered. 2 years, he confirmed. At first, the amounts were small, so small we thought they were simple accounting errors. But after your complaint, we dug deeper. We discovered he has been stealing steadily for a long time. How much money are we talking about? Caroline asked. About $130,000, Richard answered. All of it went into accounts he controlled, including yours. I felt sick. Not only was I a victim of his abuse, but I had also been, without knowing it, the channel for a massive robbery that had gone on for 2 years. But there's more, Richard said. When Marcus was arrested, our legal team kept investigating. We found that he had been forging reports, changing contracts, and even selling company secrets to competitors. Why are you telling me all this? I asked. Richard gave me a small, kind smile. Because we want to offer you a job, Mrs. Hart, he said. During our investigation, we looked at your work history. 40 years at Harrington and Associates, excellent references, experience with complex legal cases. We need someone like you to help us rebuild the mess your son left behind. I almost couldn't believe what I was hearing. Instead of facing only shame and punishment, I was being given a chance to start over. The salary would be $4,000 a month, Richard continued, plus health insurance. And we want to offer you an additional $50,000 as compensation for the damage this situation, from our side, caused you. $4,000 a month. More than 3 times my pension. And $50,000 in compensation. Suddenly, my future didn't look so dark. There's one condition, Richard added. We need you to testify at Marcus's trial. Your testimony will be essential to make sure he is held accountable for everything. Not just what he did to you, but also what he did to the company. Of course, I said without hesitation. I'll do whatever is needed. At 2 p.m., the press room was full of journalists, cameras, and microphones. Caroline had invited the local media, telling them that a victim of domestic violence would speak about being blackmailed from jail. When I sat down in front of the cameras, I felt a new kind of fear. Not fear of Marcus. Not fear of his blows or his anger. It was fear of freedom. Fear of what it means to take charge of your own life. My name is Eleanor Hart. I began, looking straight at the cameras. I'm 61 years old, and for the last 3 years, I've been a victim of domestic violence at the hands of my son, Marcus Hart. I told the whole story. The beatings, the financial control, the threats, the stolen pension, the constant fear. I told them how I had been turned into his tool to steal from the company. Then I said the part Marcus thought I'd never admit. During my 40 years working at the law firm of Harrington and Associates, I made mistakes, I said, my voice growing firmer. Mistakes I didn't realize were illegal at the time, but that I now understand were wrong. I explained the Williams case, the altered documents, the money I received that I never reported. Everything. I didn't hide anything. My son discovered those mistakes, I continued, and he has been using them to blackmail me from jail. He threatened to expose my past if I didn't drop the charges against him. Today, I'm here to take that weapon away from him. I'd rather face the consequences of my own actions than keep living under his control. The room went silent. You could hear only the clicks of the cameras and the scribbles of pens on notepads. I want to send a message to every woman who is being abused by her son, her husband, or her partner, I said. Emotional blackmail, financial control, threats to reveal your secrets, they are all forms of abuse. Don't let fear of public shame keep you locked up. Freedom is worth more than reputation. After the press conference, Caroline told me that the district attorney's office had decided not to charge me for my past mistakes. Your voluntary confession, plus the fact that you were being blackmailed, makes you far more valuable as a witness than as a defendant, she explained. That night, for the first time in months, I went back to sleep in my own home. Martha insisted on staying with me for the first few nights until I felt truly safe. As I lay down in my own bed, in my own house, I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Complete control over my life. Marcus was still in jail, facing several charges that would probably keep him there for many years. His blackmail had lost all power over me, because I had no secrets left to hide. My phone rang. It was a number from the jail. This time, I wasn't afraid to pick up. Mom, Marcus's voice sounded completely broken. I saw your press conference on the news. And what do you think about it? I asked, surprisingly calm. You destroyed everything, he said, not angry, just deeply sad. You destroyed my last chance to get out of here. No, Marcus, I replied. You destroyed that chance the day you decided to turn your own mother into your victim. There was a long silence on the line. Are you ever going to forgive me? He finally asked. Someday, I answered honestly. When you pay for what you've done, when you ask for real help to change, when you truly understand the damage you caused, maybe one day I'll be able to forgive you. But I will never forget. I hung up and turned off my phone. Tomorrow I would start my new job, my new life. But that night, all I wanted was to sleep peacefully in my own home. No fear, no threats, no blackmail. For the first time in 3 years, I was completely free. And even though the journey had been painful, even though I had to face my own mistakes in public and accept that I had lost my relationship with my son forever, I knew I had made the right choice. Marcus learned that victims can become strong, that secrets lose their power when they are brought into the light, and that justice, even if it takes time, always arrives in the end. And I learned that it is never too late to take back your life, no matter how many years you've lived in the shadows. This is my story of freedom. A story I hope inspires other women to break their own chains, no matter who put them there. Did you enjoy the story? Which city are you listening from? Tell me in the comments. Thank you for your sweet support. Can't wait to read your thoughts. On the screen, you'll see 2 new life stories I highly recommend. There's so much more on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.